702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
6 minutes after 9 o'clock, welcome to it. You're on 702. It is the 1st of May, Workers' Day, a public holiday. Very important day in the history of various economies of the world. Without workers, there is no economy at all. Workers are a central and intrinsic part of any economy and any country. So if you're a worker, hello there, and this is your day. Happy Workers' Day. Most of us are workers, aren't we? So good morning to you and welcome to it. I look forward to your calls this morning as we will be interrogating this phenomena of being a worker. Are you well paid? Are you well paid as a worker? Do you feel that your employer is giving you sufficient remuneration, wages, and pay for the labor that you borrow them? A lot has been said about this subject, and it's not new in the South African corridors at all. Every now and then, especially on radio, we would be juxtaposing the salaries of CEOs against those of a lowest employee in the hierarchy of a particular office. So we'd be saying that a certain bank is paying the CEO so many millions in a month or in a year, as opposed to paying a few rands to a cleaner or a security guard of that particular entity. Where you work, do you feel that you are given sufficient remuneration? Are you paid enough, or are you being taken for a ride by your employer? On Workers' Day, I thought let's just delve into those detailed discussions. And do you feel appreciated? Do you feel that you don't have a choice? I mean, it's because of the scarcity of employment that you are taking, whatever it is that you are taking home, or it could be that you feel sufficiently remunerated. My name is Thabo Shole-Mashao. I'm excited to be with you. Feel free to send your comments to 072 702. Well, I think I must have messed it up, right? Let's try again. 072 702 1702. That is the text message. For your text messages and your voice notes, feel free to use that number, 072 702 1702. Alternatively, just call me. Let's have a discussion, which is what I prefer. Call and let's debate, let's discuss, let's show each other reason, let's persuade one another through a cogent argument. I'd love to hear from you. I mean, you have countries like Botswana, hey, where the new administration has been vocally asserting for a 4,000 pula minimum wage, and that would come to about 6,000 rands in South Africa. They're saying that should be the bare minimum. The new president, Duma Boko, has said in Botswana that therefore there is a moral and economic justification to argue for a 4,000 pula minimum wage. Those are our neighbors on the other side. And us, what is our minimum wage? About 3.5 or so. So if you can't afford to pay someone that much in a month, rather not employ anyone at all? I'm asking, that's not what I'm saying. And of course, there are exceptions to the rule, right? Because other industries cannot afford that minimum wage, to pay that minimum wage. So as an individual sitting at home or at work, driving or listening to us from wherever you are, look at your salary slip. You don't have to share it with me. I won't share mine with yours because there's nothing to show anyway. Ha 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 ha. Hint to the Prime Media head office, right? So I'd love to hear from you about that. Do you feel that you are sufficiently remunerated? Do you get what your worth requires? And does your salary, more importantly, your salary, your wage, does it stretch you to the end of the month as a worker? Do you feel that what you're putting in, because this relationship between employer and employee, the employee supplies and borrows the employer with labor and time. The employer compensates financially for what the employee is giving. So do you feel that you are getting your 2 cents worth? The effort that you are putting in at your work, Do you feel that it's sufficient? And does that money really stretch to the end of the month? Of course, we can speak about bad labor practices, what ILO says, International Labour Organization says. We can speak about various policies of the workplace. But I thought let's make it rather personal, right? Let's just go straight to the bone. Because at the end of the day, you are contributing immensely to your workplace, to your company, to your entity. It could be a government department. You are giving them so much of your time, so much that you spend more time at work. At least most of you spend more time at work than you do at home. That's the discussion we need to visit, I think. But also it could be that you are an employer and you feel that the current South African climate does not allow you to thrive and absorb more employees, because it is so tough. You can't just tell someone. Many years ago, I wrote a piece in the City Press. I think it was an op-ed piece where I had said at that time that one of the things that made America work were the 3 words, and those words were, "you are fired." Well, I suppose that's very capitalistic of me to have written that, but the gist of it was that it is far difficult to get rid of an employee in South Africa than it is in many other countries because of our labor laws, which I'm aligned to those, and I agree 100% with those. Maybe not 100%, but I agree with what they're trying to achieve, given that exploitation can be rife, and we need to protect the lowest of the low. So it could be that you're an employer and you're saying, Thabo, no, I mean, you are one-sided. There are employees that need discipline, and we need to get rid of them, and we need regulatory framework that is employer friendly, that if someone messes up, I can summarily dismiss them and get rid of them and not wait another day and waste time in courts, at the CCMA, at the labor court, and in such protracted processes that end up wasting everyone's time and eating out from my profits, and my shareholders would be screaming at me at the end of the day. But what's your experience as a worker? Are you getting enough? I'm worried about that, because there are various studies that have shown that a number of employees, workers, pay up to 60% of their wages spend 60% of their wages, remuneration, salaries on transport. On transport, 60%. That's quite a lot. And then the 40% is left for what? Other things. Is that how it should be? 011-883 0702. 011-883 0702. But also, whilst we are there on the open line again, I wanted to walk on Stephen Groote's footprints because he mentioned the issue of a white president in South Africa. Before I do that, perhaps let me just try to give you this kind of context. And Stephen Groote touched on it in the morning, and I'm sure you have heard this clip, you've seen it, and you've experienced it on social media. But I thought, let's just jog our memory. Then I'll give you what I wanted to say.
And I want to warn you that this country will have a white president. This country will stay in Ezen as a president if the ANC is going to behave the way it's behaving. Because the motion of no confidence will come, will vote with the DA, mobilize all those who can mobilize, we vote together with the DA against the president. And then when it is time to elect a president, we abstain. And the ANC loses.
Yeah, I mean, the question of a white president in South Africa is something that a number of thinking individuals entertain, whether it's a pro or a con for them, or people are just indifferent about it. And I suppose the politically correct thing to say is to say it doesn't matter which color the president is, as long as we have someone effective. But some would argue that it matters. Representation matters. It's only been 30 years. It's only been 30 years. And how would it augur with a liberation program that is still unfolding and that is yet to be completed, especially on the economic side? 011-883-0702.
702.
Call us on 011 883 0702.
I asked for your calls, so let me not waste your time. Some of you have been holding for quite some time. Straight to you, Nari in Plegari. Welcome. Good morning. Happy Workers' Day, Nari.
Hi, morning. Yes, I'll say, myself, anyway, I never liked to work for anyone, so I don't know about that. All my life, I never wanted to work for anyone. Yes, listen, I think there's something that we miss, Thabo. You know, the whole idea that employers, they are important than workers. Without employers, you're not going to get a job. Without an employer, you're not going to get an increase. If you're running a business and your business is struggling, your job is not going to be secure. So I think there's less that is said about employers. And employers, they are a backbone of every economy. Like today, you look at people coming from other countries like Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Lesotho, it's because there are more employers than there. Even in America, a lot of people trying to go there. They are not going there for the American government. They are going there because there are employers, there are jobs there. I think less is said. I remember 2 years ago, there was an article that said about 150 employers have left this country. We got every year there are companies as well that are getting shut down and people are losing jobs. I think we need to focus. How do we protect employers so that a lot of people they can get jobs? You understand?
Yeah,
let's find that way.
Nari, I agree with you. We need more employers in order for the economy to thrive, especially employers at the small business scale, because small businesses absorb even the workers that are not sufficiently academically qualified. They can absorb cleaners, drivers, and people who are looking after the business, security guards, and so on. So we desperately need to. I think it also needs to be said that we also need to protect the employees. If we don't do that, we will be having a sophisticated type of slavery, modernized in 2025.
Okay.
Last word, Nari?
Okay. I think the problem is with every story, every human being, when they're supposed to do right thing, they're wrong. That's why even we got police. There are police who are not good. There are police who are good. So it's up to the government there as well to play its part. But at the end, I think we need the police. But you can't say because some police are corrupt, it means that every police officer, yes, even employers.
Gotcha.
There are employers there with good intention, there are employers with that. So, but at the end of the day, we need employers. The government's policies quickly, just to tell you, you know, when you walk around or you drive around, you see how many buildings that are empty. Those buildings, they used to be shops, they used to be, because it's difficult to rent a small business, just a small space. It costs you a leg and arm. So we got high rate, we got a lot of stuff.
Got you, Nari. Let's give others a chance. Let's give others a chance, Nari. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. Lehlonola in Bloemfontein, hi.
Hi, Thabo, how are you?
I'm free, Lehlonola. Thanks for asking. How's it going with you?
It's one of those mornings. You have to be very controversial and ask questions about salaries that I really don't understand. But let me tell you something, and I really think this is where the crux of the matter is. It really goes to human satisfaction as well.
Yeah.
It speaks to that. You remember the Maslow's law? The hierarchy. Yes. Well, it goes to that, but more than anything else, I believe, look, the South African market of salary is quite it's got its own disparities. I mean, you look at it seems to favor the C-suite in itself, because you look at the highest paid member of a corporation to the lowest paid. There seems to be a vast difference between salaries, and now you have to justify that difference in between. And how do you do that? And then why I say that is because, well, what were the qualities that were considered for this person to actually find themselves at that top level? You understand? And if it really is experience, what type of experience? Because you've got a cleaner who's been doing this job for 20 years, and you've got a CEO that's sitting at a maximum of about 10 years, but he's earning, 20, 50 million. What are we saying about the experience of this guy that's a cleaner? And is it really sufficient to pay him whatever the minimum is for a cleaner when he holds like 20 years experience? But then it also goes to the type of market we've created for salary competition in South Africa.
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but do you think the type of salary that you as Thabo earn at 702 compared to someone that's at a sister station or at a public broadcaster is competitive enough to warrant for you to move to them or to actually just say, look, I want to be on my own? I mean, it raises quite a lot of things about our market that we've created and the type of employment capabilities we've created as a country. I mean,
I don't want to interrupt you because you're making 10,000 good points. You're making all those points are valid. I just want to engage with one or two before I say goodbye, if you will, and because you've just given us food for thought on a plethora of issues that you've raised. One of them is the competitiveness of the markets and various within an industry, and you've made an example of the media broadcasting industry, to be precise, right? And I'm wondering to what extent we should be engaged in the Competition Commission to evaluate the level of competitiveness amongst companies within an industry, because that is a serious issue. A very, very serious issue. I don't want to dilute the points that you make at all, but in some instances, you may find the public broadcaster paying more than private entities. I've worked for the public broadcaster, and I've worked for private entities as well in this capacity. So I'd like to believe that I know two things at least about what I'm talking about. So so you may find in some instances, and without diluting your very intrinsic issue, you may find at times that it's not as clear-cut as that. The public broadcaster at times pays more and with less demands. But having said what you are saying, I want to ask you this and I'll say goodbye.
Okay.
What do you make of employers insisting on salaries to be confidential? Is it to protect themselves from the exploitation that is taking place within a particular company, or is it genuinely about respecting people's individual dignity as far as remuneration is concerned?
But that is quite a thing, a very serious matter. But look, what they're essentially trying to do is everyone negotiates for themselves.
Yeah, sure.
That's what they're trying to protect. But in actual fact, what they're trying to get to is a very simple thing, is that, look, you shouldn't be asking questions about why am I a Class A employee compared to another Class A employee, but this guy is earning 100,000 rands above me, and well, why didn't you go and negotiate 100,000 rands?
Sure. Let's leave it at that. Thanks. Really appreciate your call. Jerry, you are in Omonde. Jerry, hi. Welcome.
My brother, the only time that I knew what I'm worth is when I'm self-employed.
When you said when you are?
The only time that I know what I'm worth.
Yes.
It's the time when I started to be self-employed.
Oh, when you started to be self-employed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, when
yes,
I was working for a company, I didn't know what my worth was.
Yes, sir.
And the question I ask myself normally is, I'll just give an example here, a motor mechanic, big companies.
Yeah.
You take your car for service, they charge you 6,000 rand for a day.
Yeah.
The guy that was servicing your car on that specific day targeted 4 cars.
Yes.
Now, it's safe to say that guy has made 6,400 or 6,500 times 4 for that dealership. But then he gets paid maybe 800 rand a day.
Yeah.
Now, the question I ask myself is it fair or is it not unfair? Is it fair or unfair? The guy wouldn't know because, I mean, you remember there's rent to be paid.
Yeah.
There's all those type of
overheads, the water that he
Overheads to be
drinks,
paid.
the phones that he uses, the paper
Exactly.
that he takes to the service center on the other end, and everything else that he got that he didn't start himself. He just walked into a huge building, and the tools that he has, the service kit that he's using, perhaps, and many other things.
Yeah, so sometimes it's a bit difficult to know whether you are being well paid or you are being underpaid, purely based on what I've just said now.
I like how you phrase it, though. Whether you are well paid or the employer is not unfair.
Correct.
Yeah, is not unfair because, and that's a particular phrasing that says you may not like it, but it is not unfair. One, unfair based on legalities that govern the labor relations space. Two, based on the morality that is also included, because we can't deduce it from our financial activities as much as ethics and morality are part of it. And if someone wants to argue that it's not part of it, then you'll be talking about loafing, stealing, and all those other issues that are there, that are involved at work. Yeah. So are you, now that you work for yourself, do you feel that you are getting your money's worth?
I do. I really do. I build, let me just be specific. I build trailers.
Okay.
And I sell them. So I can manage to build 2 trailers in one day.
Okay, fantastic.
The value of one trailer is 27,000 rand. So I build 2 trailers in one day, which is 27 times 2.
Yeah. That's
now,
about 50,
Yeah. So the question I ask myself is, the guys that built the trailer for me, how much am I paying them for building those trailers? Am I being fair to them, or I'm being exactly like the company that I was used to?
Well, that guy is listening. Maybe you should tell us how much he earns, and then he'll compare it to the 27,000 rand that you're getting. Jerry, let's leave it at that, man. It's 29 minutes to 10 o'clock.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
011-883-0702. I'll get to your voice messages in a second. Romano, you've been holding for some time. Thanks for your patience. You're calling from Eden Park. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Thabo, for taking my call.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Thabo, I would like to respond to the issue whether the country is ready for a white president. Let me respond first to say that I subscribe to the ideas of Manglis Robert Sabuko, which believe in a non-racial, non-sexist society.
Yeah.
And therefore, a president who has the interests of the country as a whole at heart, irrespective of the color of his or her skin, it's capable and who are capable to lead the country, I will support that person. Remember, for the past 30 years, the lifespan of the majority African people have even went from bad to worse under so-called black leaders. So if we can go for a president who will put the interests of the country first, that president I will support irrespective of the color of his skin.
And I hear a lot of benevolence in your sentiments, Romano. And I highly appreciate that, because we must at all times put the country first, right? Before individual ideologies or outlooks, political perspectives, and so on. So having said that, I would like to then ask you, given the history of this country, where representation matters, where for the longest of time blackness has been associated with inferiority, the generations that come through, isn't it important for them to see as many black people as possible in positions of authority, of power and influence? Wouldn't that try to equate the scales that have been so skewed by apartheid, colonialism, imperialism, slavery, and all other prejudicial institutions that preceded the ones that I've just mentioned?
Thabo, as I said, that what is important is that take the current situation whereby we have, especially whereby we have so-called in many senior positions, particularly in government, whereby we have top so-called black leadership.
Yeah.
And then the question is that, are they really serving the interests of the country? Then that's no. So even they are not grooming the so-called black youth to know the history of this country. So what I'm trying to say is that irrespective, we know where we are coming from, because in any case, but now we need a leadership, for instance, that will serve the country and that will, in actual fact, incorporate the history of the past to the youth and say that we should not remember the history of the past should be a guidance for the future. We should not make the same mistakes what we did in the past. Remember, we know that colonialism, apartheid, that was wrong. That one we do not dispute, Thabo.
Yeah.
But the question is that what we need now.
Romano, one last thing quickly. I've given you some time, just in few seconds. How would you respond if someone comes through and says it took America quite a long time before they experienced the first black president?
See, Thabo, I want to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The issue, you cannot compare America with Africa or with South Africa. The reason is that even that so-called black president, if you go to America now, the majority of the African Americans, they're still the same that even before, or even they're even worse off before he took power, you understand? The thing is that we need now to look past beyond. As Sobukwe said, we need to look past the color of the skin of a person is irrelevant, or the shape or the form of his hair or nose. What is important, it is a country first.
Romano, thanks very much for that. There's someone who sent a text message earlier on, and I wanted to do justice to it, which is very funny. And the person says, especially about what Julius Malema has said in reference to the clip that I played earlier on of Julius Malema. And this person says, and no doubt you are in total agreement with that red jelly tot, Julius Malema. Well, I find it funny on various levels. It's not, I'm asking you to call in, to engage, for us to persuade each other. And I would love to hear from you about that. I wish you had called. That's such a funny text message. I know it's meant to demean me and insult me, but I find it very hilarious. Please keep them coming on 072-702-1702. Rutherford, you are in Leondale. Please have your say.
Mr. Thabo, how are you doing, sir?
I'm free, good sir. How are you?
Good. On your question, I doubt if there's anyone who will ever say I'm over-remunerated, because everybody feels like they deserve more. Trust me, even if you're not doing anything, you feel like that element of entitlement. But unfortunately, it comes down to the issue of demand and supply. If you have the skill that is unique and highly in demand, yes, you can negotiate higher remuneration or whatever you feel you deserve, because you are needed. That skill is needed. But then if your skill can be found anywhere, trust me, they will just say you can go, we can afford you. That's the unfortunate part, unfortunately, if you are replaceable.
I suppose, do we not vote with our feet then, if we are not sufficiently remunerated? And those who are staying, they could be staying perhaps for the money.
Voting with your feet, that's not a democracy. Where are you going with your feet? There are no jobs out there.
This is a capitalist environment. Rutherford, thanks for that. 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Thabo. This is Princess here. I'm also concerned about these employers that we don't have contracts with. We are overworking for them. Those employers are families. The children, I'm telling you, those employers, they hardly pay us. Instead, we pay them. What about them? We also need to come to them.
Morning 702. I hope you're good. Workers' Day. To us, Workers' Day means nothing, man. When I work for the company that pays far less than what we're supposed to get, there are no pension funds. There are no incentives, just nothing. And when you try to join a union, you get fired. So we are in the cage, sort of, to speak. But Workers' Day to some of us means nothing.
It's unfortunate, and I can somehow understand where you come from. It ought to mean something, because on a day like this, we pause and reflect on the rights of the workers. We pause and reflect on the work environment in our country and beyond, and whether our respective spaces of work are conducive for us to thrive and for the economy to grow. But also, we shouldn't forget that we do have needs. And if those needs are not met, the economy cannot sufficiently grow as it ought to. So a lot of people worry that shareholders often take home so much more than employees who are contributing so much to that particular entity. And whilst they can, it's the gap that matters. It's not that they're just taking away more, but the gap is so wide, that you would find some employees in a year taking home no less than, not more than 150,000 rands per annum. And whilst shareholders would be pocketing millions, that disparity ought to say something about the wrongness of that scenario. It ought to say something. I'm the first to admit it's a capitalist environment, mixed market environment that we live in. There should be a bit of thought for those who are on the receiving end of pain on the shop floor. Does that make me sound like a socialist? I don't know. You'll tell me. 011-883-0702. I would want to hear from you about this issue and much more. Earlier on, we also played a clip of Julius Malema saying that there might be a white president in the offing in South Africa. Stephen Grotes, standing in for Bongani Bingwa on the breakfast show earlier, touched on that subject, and he lamented that before we even talk about the white president, we should give thought first to a black female president. Then in that way, we would have satisfied, I'm adding, he didn't add this part, this is me, so that I'm not sued by Stephen, the latter part is me, so that we should not necessarily miss the important rungs in the ladder of transformation and an evolving society that we find ourselves in. I'm persuaded by that. I am persuaded by that, because whilst we always assert that black and white this, black and white this, the gender issue is very serious in our country, wherein a lot of women are not, one, earning what they need to be earning whilst occupying the same positions as their male counterparts. They are not. And on basis, just on basis of being a woman, by virtue of being women, they are earning less. And these are the things that we don't speak about. And we need to address them. Yes, it's always colorful to speak about race, pun intended. But I think there's something to be said about the gender disparities, the conditions that many women find themselves under. So if we are going to be speaking about a white president, we might as well open the debate to a female black president. What say you? I'd love to know. 011-883-0702. We're also talking about your workplace, by the way. And I'm keen on hearing about your experiences at your work. Is it a friendly work environment? Is it conducive to your growth as an individual? Most importantly, are they paying you enough? You don't have to give us the figures, but are they paying you enough? At the end of the month, when that SMS comes through from your respective banks, what do those text messages say? And are you content? Of course, all of us want more. All of us want more. I definitely want more. And someone spoke about the broadcast industry, and you've been sharing your experiences. Perhaps I must throw in one or two of mine. That one of the reasons why I left full-time journalism was just for that. Actually, it was in 2012, to be precise, when I disengaged on full-time active journalism. It was purely because of that, nothing else. I realized that I was starting a family, and I realized that I was growing up, and I thought, I'm not getting enough. The industry is not paying enough, or it was not at the time. And doing the calculations, I realized that I'll be doing what I love, yes, and doing it well, dedicating myself, and it can be grilling. Both City, they will tell you that, I mean, you spend hours and hours and hours and hours. What you hear on radio is not even a fraction of the work that takes place behind the scenes. So I disengaged purely because of money issues, and I thought I'd rather go and do my own thing and freelance, but just do my own thing outside full time. And that's the reality of it, because at times, money steals us away from things that we love the most. Let me know. Has it done the same for you? 011-883-0702. Anonymous, you are calling us from somewhere. Good morning. Anonymous, it's your turn. You said we should call you Anonymous. It's you. It's your turn. Hello? Oh,
yes.
what?
Hello, Thabo.
Hi. Welcome.
I'm sorry. Network somewhere.
Oh, I thought you forgot that you wanted to be called Anonymous. I was going to call you by your name. Oh, Wanna, he's gone. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. I don't even know your name because my screen said Anonymous. But I suppose it's, we'll try to get Anonymous back. You wanted to make a point. It's 9 minutes to 10.
Good morning. I was actually surprised when you said some workers are not getting 150,000 a year. Where I'm working, others are getting 60,000 a year.
Sure.
But our boss is taking a holiday every other second week.
Yeah,
because of how much we are putting in for the company. He gets the profits and then it goes 60,000 a year. That's about 250 rand a day.
Way below minimum wage, isn't it? Way below minimum wage. Anonymous is back. Anonymous, the floor is yours.
Hi, Thabo. How are you?
I'm free. How's it going with you?
I'm good. Happy Workers' Day. We are professional nurses. We work for a prestigious company and this local center. But our salary is quite good. But the abuse around it is so depressing that we don't even get off days. It's so difficult. But the money is good. I don't want to lie. The money is quite good.
I love the honesty.
We also got other employees that has been on contract for the past 2 years. And can you imagine? They haven't been paid since March. And it's professional nurses. And we're not even allowed to get unions. We cannot be represented because it's a private company. For us, it's a private company. So things are very difficult on our side. But the money is good. Because the money is good.
Yeah.
We stay there because of the money. Let me put it that way. We stay there because of the money. But the abuse is really, really ridiculous.
What sort of abuse, if you don't mind sharing, Anonymous?
First things first, we are being overworked. That's the first one. The manager himself is way more superior than just us. Let me put it that way. I think more superior than the CEO. Because even if you go there with a problem, let's say you are sick. If you are sick and it happens that you report, it all depends. It all depends who you are. And you don't get the proper treatment. We've got another friend who was sick for quite a while, but when she came back, they had to deduct directly from the salary. You get it? They had to deduct. They said, no, you don't have enough leave days. You don't have incapacity. But labor relations say something else, But then they say, no, you don't have incapacity leave. How? Because you just employed me and I've been working with you for the past year. One of them has to resign and has to complain on Hello Peter, reporting the very same thing that I'm basically saying right now. But the money is good.
So, the money is an incentive, right? The money is a great motivator for you to keep going despite the conditions. How would you feel? Apologies, Anonymous. How would you feel if the conditions were great, but the money was not as good?
To tell you the honest truth is that when the environment is good, and the money is not great, hence we still got professional nurses who are still working for the government. The money is not good, but they're still at work. you know.
Great. Thanks very much for that. Food for thought, definitely. Anonymous, I really appreciate your input. Robert, you are in Parktown. Morning.
Yeah, good morning, Thabo. Hope you guys are doing well.
We're good. Thanks.
Yeah, my contribution for Workers' Day, I don't really understand what it's all for, because I feel there's a bit of bipolar cognitive dissonance, to use a fancy term, going on. Well, you have government workers who I think underperform. I think we all know that. You just have to look at the city. And yet they've got very strong unions behind them. And I don't see anything being done in the city, especially Johannesburg. So I don't think that it's worth paying them what they get paid, because a lot of the time they don't do any work. Juxtapose that with a lot of people who work damn hard and don't get paid the minimum wage. I believe it's 28.79.
Yeah.
I mean, we really don't have time, but I mean, I'm sure you know for yourself, Thabo, there are so many examples of exploitation, and dare I say, it's really ironic and sad that a lot of exploitation is happening with local African companies as well.
Yeah.
But the employees should know better, than to treat their workers so badly. I mean, I can list hospitality, I can list security.
Sure.
I know an instance of, there's a well-known security company, I won't mention names.
Yeah.
But they get a lot of the contracts to provide security services for example, the football games at FNB Stadium.
Yes.
You know that they expect the security guards to meet at 4:30 in Hillbrow. Imagine.
Goodness.
And you know how unsafe that is. And then they get to the venue at 6 in the morning. They have to stand around from 6 till 12 doing absolutely nothing. There's no planning. There's no interest in their lives. It's really bad. So from an exploitation perspective, not to mention being paid dismally below minimum wage.
So, Robert, I just wanna engage you very quickly. We don't have a lot of time, but I do want your opinion on my follow-ups to your contribution. One, and you do mention that you've made an example with the city of Joburg that there are a lot of incompetent employees. Evidently, I can't argue with that. The results speak for themselves, right? I will just deposit the fact that there are those who are hardworking, but all of that, without necessarily diluting your point. Don't you think that it is a product of leadership? Those who are not working as they ought to, those who are not delivering, those who are not meeting their KPIs, they are doing so comfortably, knowing that there aren't any consequences, accountability or consequence management. So we should rather be pointing at the leadership, saying that you are not doing enough to ensure that these workers on the ground are doing what they ought to be doing.
I'm sitting here shaking my head. Unfortunately, they are not interested. They're only interested in money. The only way we can do as consumers, as customers is, I mean, I don't have all the answers, but we must have some traction as customers, to those who attend the games, those who see the way the security...
No, Robert, I hear all of that. I hear all of that. And I'm not trying to squeeze in answers from you, but I'm just thinking that... every human being will try, not every, but most human beings will try to get away with as much as possible if they are not monitored sufficiently and if there aren't consequences to their shortcomings. So I'm saying that those who are on the ground working, it's not that they're incompetent. It's not that they don't want to work. They are getting away with murder, and perhaps the fish rots from the top.
100%.
Great.
Absolutely.
Robert, thanks for your time, man. Really appreciate it. It's 9:50.
Thabo and all the 702 land. May I please remain anonymous? Thabo, I think with the situation that is here in South Africa at this moment, people are just taking any job, any and every job that comes your way. Because as it is the job that I'm doing, it's not even the job that I'm qualified for. And the money that I'm making per annum, per year, Thabo, you will be shocked. You will calculate for yourself. I make around 42,000 a year. Just calculate and see how much I make a day, how much I make a month. It's a sad situation, Thabo. To be even saying Workers' Day and all the stuff is something else. Thank you, Thabo. Great show as always.
Thanks very much, man. I really feel for you. I'm sorry about that. 42,000 divided by 12 months is 3,500. Exactly 10 o'clock.